now available in paperback. From the author of the critically acclaimed book The Man Crisis comes The Woman Crisis. Learn why so many women have become lost in their quest to have it all in The Woman Crisis. Get your copy of The Woman Crisis in paperback at Amazon.com and online booksellers today. Historical Women in Crisis. One of my viewers wanted me to do another installment in the Historical Women in Crisis series. And for this installment in the Historical Women in Crisis series, I am going to be talking about 13-year-old Richezza Williams, a young girl who tragically lost her life to the streets. Now, Richezza Williams was a 13-year-old girl who wound up being murdered by two drug dealers over an alleged drug debt. However, before Richezza Williams wound up on the streets of Easton, Pennsylvania, she had a promising life in New York City as a part of a middle-class Brooklyn family and was doing very well in the private school she was attending. However, after the tragic death of a family member, according to some reports, was her father, and in other reports they say it was another family member, Richezza Williams went from being a girl who was a promising student who was doing very well to walking down the road to becoming a tragic woman in crisis. Now, Richezza Williams, after the death of this family member, her whole life completely changed because her parents moved from Brooklyn to Long Island, and as Richezza wound up moving from Brooklyn to Long Island, this is where her life really started to change, partially due to puberty and partially due to her mourning the death of this family member, because possibly these were the reasons why Richezza Williams had the motivation to run away from her home. And she possibly wanted to run away from her home because, one, she was dealing with the complete change in her life if it was her father who died, because without that father there to be the person to give her life order and structure, and she didn't have anybody to be that whole rock for her to lean on. And that possibly was one of the reasons why she felt like her whole home life was becoming completely unstable. And the other reason why she possibly felt like her life was becoming unstable was due to the changes she was dealing with as related to puberty, as related to her body changing. Now, this combination of her dealing with the possible death of her father or this family member who provided her with stability and the changes of her life in puberty took her on this road to possibly looking to rebel or challenge the authority figure in the home, which was her mother. And as she was looking to challenge these authority figures, that she was possibly dealing with a lot of friction, because oftentimes when you have a home that is now run by a mother and she's the authority, oftentimes this turns a relationship of the woman and her daughter into competition, and the mother starts competing with the daughter, and that can make a home very tense, and it can make a home where the daughter feels like she is not really going to feel loved, because usually a daughter gets love from her father, who provides her with emotional security, and because he provides her with emotional security, she doesn't want to go look for love from other people. And that's possibly what led to Richezza Williams being motivated to wind up thinking to run away from home, because at 13 years old, she possibly felt like she had no place in the home with her mother, who, if she was grieving her father, really started to again see her daughter as a rival, because usually in homes where there's a single mother, she oftentimes sees her daughters as competition and as rivals, because there is no man there to give her love. And that's possibly what happened here to be the possible motivation for the Richezza Williams to look to leave her family, and possibly she had such friction with her family that she started thinking about changing her complete identity at 13 years old. Now, after Richezza Williams ran away from her home, she then created an alias for herself as Matrion Buffy Smith, and as she created this whole identity, she brought up her age to 19 years old and started hanging out with drug dealers. Now, as she was hanging out with these drug dealers, I believe what she was looking for was that father figure, because if her father passed away, she was looking for a male figure to give her leadership and guidance. And as she was looking for this male figure to give her leadership and guidance, what happened to Richezza Williams is she got involved with this drug dealer who was running this derivative of what they call a CMB gang, which he possibly got inspiration from the movie New Jack City. And as he was running this derivative of the Cash Money Brothers gang that was similar to New Jack, the one that was presented in New Jack City, Richezza Williams got involved with this drug dealer, and she got involved with her and this gang, which consisted of Corey Mayweather, Kwame Simmons, and Stanley Obas. What happened was she got involved with these individuals, helping them to rent out an apartment. And as they rented out this apartment in Pennsylvania to go out and sell crack rocks, they were building up this gang, and that gang basically gave her the emotional security that she wanted to receive from her father. And because she looked for love, this is why she got involved with these drug dealers. However, what happened to the lead member of this gang, of these drug dealers, was he got arrested. And as he got arrested and sent up to prison, Richezza Williams was once again had no male figure like a father figure in her life. And because she had no father figure in her life, what happened was she started taking drugs and falling into prostitution, as she was a part of the CMB gang. And as she was a part of this gang and was running drugs for the gang, what happened was she started to allegedly start skimming the drugs to make money for herself and to pay for her habit. And as she was skimming the drugs, allegedly, the other members of the gang became onto it because they saw that something was missing, and they started to believe that Richezza Williams was the one taking the drugs. And this is basically what created the alleged drug debt that these individuals believed that she had. And one day they decided to go to the home of a prostitute who they knew in the area, and they decided to go to that home of Kathy Sagusti, the prostitute that they were staying with. And this is where they decided to try to deal with the debt as related to the alleged drugs. And they did this by torturing Richezza Williams. And as they tortured Richezza Williams in the basement with coat hangers that they heated up on the stove and other items, they wound up torturing her for a moment while Kathy Sagusti stayed upstairs with Stanley Obas, who allegedly had a crush on Richezza Williams. And as he stayed upstairs with Kathy Sagusti, the other two individuals, Corey Mayweather and Kwame Simmons, tortured this 13-year-old girl, and they tortured this 13-year-old girl until she died. And after they tortured her, they decided to take her body out of the house in a cardboard box. And after taking her body out of Kathy Sagusti's home in a cardboard box, they just took it to a place in the cemetery where they store bodies because the ground is too cold to dig it in. And they put it inside of this vault, and they just left her like garbage. I mean, they basically left her body inside of this vault, and people didn't know it was there until these guys decided to turn on Kathy Segusti. And when they stabbed Kathy Segusti and she went to the police as related to that alleged assault, that is where the police soon found out about the body inside of the vault. And as they found out about the body inside of the vault, they started to do their investigation. And as they did their investigation, they soon found out that the body was not that of the alias that Richezza Williams made as related to being Matrion Buffy Smith, but they found out that she was a missing girl named Richezza Williams based on her dental records, because the way they left the body had basically decomposed to the point where there was no way to physically identify the body based on the original appearance of Richezza Williams. No, they had to use dental records to identify her body, and after finding that body, again, in that decomposed state, it just disturbed a lot of people. And most people wouldn't have known that these monsters had basically murdered Richezza Williams had it not been for Corey Mayweather's habit of chewing big red gum in order to deal with his whole anxieties and nerves regarding participating in the dope game. And it was that one piece of gum that basically proved to be the evidence, because it had the teeth marks from Corey Mayweather, and it was those teeth marks on that gum that basically proved the case for this prosecutor's office as related to getting convictions in the murder of Richezza Williams. And the Corey Mayweather and Kwame Simmons were both charged with the murder of Richezza Williams, and both men deserved all of the life sentence they got by taking the life of this 13-year-old girl and destroying this 13-year-old girl's life. I mean, this whole case, these men were monsters to torture this girl and murder her and then basically dump her body in the street like garbage. They just showed complete malice of forethought and no regard for life. And these males basically did this because they were following in the false narratives of the Cash Money brothers from New Jack City, basically trying to aspire to be like real-life Nino Browns, and showing how cold and callous they were in murdering a child, all because they wanted to show that they were so-called tough. But these guys showed how much of a punk they are, and they're possibly being turned out by Bubba, Tiny, Roscoe, Big Dave, Melvin, and Mr. Sprinkles as we speak inside of that jail. Meanwhile, Stanley Obas, the 18-year-old, he was never captured. Now, some say that he possibly received street justice after people found out what he did to Richezza Williams. And I have to believe that God would punish this monster for just sitting there and allowing this to happen, being an accomplice to this murder according to some reports. But this whole situation with Richezza Williams is just deeply saddening and deeply troubling to me, because it shows what can happen to a girl if she doesn't have a father in her life and he's not there. What can happen is that girl can wind up on a road to becoming in crisis, because what happened to Richezza Williams, I believe, is that because she wound up losing her father, if those reports are true, what happened to her is because she had no father figure, she wound up looking for one in the streets, and instead of her finding a father's love, all she found was being exploited by a group of predatory males, who took advantage of a girl who had nobody to give her guidance, nobody to give her love, and possibly wound up in this home with a mother who didn't know that her daughter needed her the most at 13 years old. A lot of people think, oh, because the girl is 12 or 13, oh, you can take your hands off them and let them run the streets. Unfortunately, that's how girls wind up becoming on the road to becoming a woman in crisis, because a girl needs her mother and her father to give her guidance as related to surviving in this world. and give them a foundation of love and guidance. Because Richezza Williams, when she first was out young, she was in private schools, she was doing well in life, but when her family member, which was possibly her father, died, that's when she wound up falling into a state of her life falling completely apart. And teachers saw the problems. They saw her skipping school. They saw her falling off, going from a student that was doing well in school to being somebody who just wound up being lost. And one teacher wanted to take her into her home to try to help her. Unfortunately, she wound up not getting any help and wound up leaving the streets of New York to go join these dope dealers in Pennsylvania. And they went to Pennsylvania because they didn't want to deal with having to deal with the other drug dealers. And sadly, Richezza Williams wound up falling through the cracks. And this 13-year-old girl went from a girl who had basically a promising life, sadly, to becoming a tragic story of a girl who wound up becoming one of the saddest stories I've ever had to tell about the whole series of historical women in crisis. Now, if you want to learn why girls like Richezza Williams oftentimes wind up on this road where their lives are just basically just destroyed, where they wind up falling completely apart, you can pick up my book, The Woman Crisis, on Amazon.com in paperback and Kindle format. You can also find The Woman Crisis at other online booksellers like Smashwords, the iBookstore, Google Play, and Barnes & Noble. And if you'd like to learn why girls like Richezza Williams will have it so hard, you can also pick up my book, Why 70% of Black Women Are Single, on Amazon.com as well. That book also goes in depth on why so many black women struggle in this world, and you can learn a lot about what leads to the dysfunctional paradigm of failure that girls like Richezza Williams go on. And if you'd like to see me make more videos in the Historical Women in Crisis series, you can send a donation to the Patreon, the PayPal, or the Cash App by clicking the links in the description box. That's all I have to say for this video. You can comment, rate, and subscribe. Now available in paperback and Kindle Unlimited, The Man Crisis. Learn why so many men are struggling to find their way in an increasingly gynocentric world in The Man Crisis. Get your copy of The Man Crisis in paperback and Kindle Unlimited today. Support Black-owned and Black-operated digital broadcast media. www.niceradionetwork.com. Nice Radio Network, broadcasting 24 hours a day, 7 days a week.